Good afternoon, friends. First of all, let me thank KLF and Korikode. Uh, it is a unique experience where people from all walks of life come together to know the finer things of life. And it is not restricted to the ones who are in that profession only. I'm going to start with a funny question. How many of you feel you are an icon? Problematic. All of you are icons. So I'm going to ask you again, and you will raise your hands. How many of you are icons? Yay. This is the main debate, this is the main problem with the idea of icons. And we are inundated with icons all around. What I'm going to try and do today is to look at iconography from the viewpoint of Hinduism and considering the fact that all religions have their own icons. However, Brahmanism of the time has worked very, very hard to create icons. And we are entrenched in it. Some of us know it, some of us don't know them. So I will try to explain a few things. For example, on your left, if somebody was to ask you, how would you describe Surya? Where on your left is Surya. And his chinha is the 7 horses and the shoes that he is wearing. On your right, there is on your right and top right, there is a scene from Ramayana where Hanuman is talking to Sita. I'm a heathen myself, and I have no claims over religious participation or belief or whatever you want to call it. However, I need to look at things objectively, and that's what I'm trying to do. So, as tribals, we have our own icons. If the lights can be, I'm a visual person, so what you're going to get from me is visual. So the tribals are the ones, why I ask you, are you an icon? Well, in the depth of our lives, we have created icons. We are an icon for somebody. Lesser or greater is not the problem. When I came to Kerala for the first time in 90s, I saw Joy Alucas boards selling gold. They were about 80 meters long. But the people on it were white-skinned. So we can see how icon, looks, colors, all this get amalgamated in one thing. Here on your left is the horses, which are an icon throughout the country. Horses up to 4 feet height are, I have seen them in South, same motto, same way they are made. And on your right, there is a painting celebrating new house through horse as an icon. Sarpakau, how did it come up? Well, we were clearing our jungles to make Kerala habitable. And at that time, snakes and nagas, etc., must be quite a few. We took their permission or we were afraid of them. That's how then Sarpakau becomes a part of our iconography in Kerala temples. On your right It is far northern icon. It doesn't happen the way Sarpakau happens. It happens as a tablet. If I ask you Charlie Chaplin, if I say Nehru, or any other name, you will start thinking about something which will represent that. And these are the icons that are very important, that have made our lives. America sold icons. And one of the most important icons, two important icons of America didn't have a slogan. One of them was Marlboro cigarettes. It didn't have a slogan. It had a person. The second one had a slogan. You have come a long way, baby, selling Virginia Slims. And then we got Phantom and others, made them our icons. Below, there are icons related to World War II. Somebody took, in the name of Aryan civilization, a symbol called swastik and just turned it around, nothing else. If it goes like this, he said, let's go like that. And he turned it around. And what a disaster was created through an icon. Well, all of them are standing with their legs apart. There's a certain way in which icon behaves. An icon wants to say, I'm an icon. Whereas the Meena Kumari on your right is sitting there in a wonderful manner, not trying to become an icon. Gandhi became fairly hazy in pictures. He became fairly clear on stamps. So icons do have their own lives through which they survive and then they vanish. This is hazy now. This image is hazy. It is that image that's important because we are using it as toothbrush. We want to use Gandhi, take out his specs, and talk about Swachhata, we do it. We look at his pottery, and we iconize it for simplicity. But then there are icons which were created by people who didn't want to be icons. And this icon, the protagonist of R.K. Lakshman, is perhaps one of the finest icons in the journalist world. We don't give heed to these people when they're alive. Right now there is a cartoonist named Sasidharan with Indian Express. Please look at his work. He is creating daily an argument of such high quality that he deserves to be amongst the icons who would raise their hands. Suddenly, icons became part of a computer. They talk, first of all, computer language, they say architecture of computer. And now, it's the icons of computer. For no other affiliations, but to tell that certain icons belong to certain places. And it is just the understanding of that that is very important all over if we are talking about true originalism. So this icon is not there in the Northern Pantheon. However, even this is not there in the Northern Pantheon. When there are utsavs, these statues beautifully made, and they are taken in a procession. And this is a Southern Indian sensibility of sculpture. I'm going into many issues which are getting related to art world, artists, common beliefs, the tallest statue in the world. All these are kind of enmeshed in the kind of discussion that I want to have with you. Well, when you see a tortoise, it's not a tortoise. To you and me, and especially in South, tortoise is not a tortoise. And who put that Dwajastamba on the back of the tortoise? How did it come about? Again, in spite of being a heathen myself, I feel that these ways of representation are much stronger with the Indian culture. And that can be taken further in many ways. A plan is an icon. And who better than Kerala knows how plans can be mathematically said? Both North India and South India have a tradition of dictating a plan for making a building. And this is one of those buildings in Ranakpur. Sometimes big on your right, sometimes big is the focus of intention. But in reality, the object on your left, the Vajra, is the one which is inseparable icon with the stupa of Buddhism. Popular icons. Our world, our visual world is full of it. On your right, this is an icon drawn in Hyderabad. And it has been drawn and redrawn and redrawn for over 20 years. Who does that? Why do they do that? Whereas on your left, there is another lion. Once you erase the lion, people are going to ask, where is the lion? That's the power of icon then. Making of architecture is very closely related to making of icons. Nobody wants to make a normal, humble building. Everybody wants to make a building that's going to shout. That's going to become an icon. And therefore, here are 4 examples of minaret trying to make a building memorable. I'm reminding here that suddenly the humble mosques of Kerala have started getting minarets. So there's something in our mind about how will I be seen, how would I want to be remembered. And therefore we pluck something from somewhere and we put it there and we say, now I'm iconic. I have been coming to Kerala since 90, and I've been seeing transformation of things pretty regularly. And especially this idea of religious harmony that was there, that is there, is little bit, I'm sorry to, this is with my foot in my mouth, little bit eroding because of iconography, because of making an icon. On your right, it's just it's nothing but a dormer. But take away the color from that dormer, and that dormer will become very, very ordinary. It will become part of the architecture of Kerala. But that color gives it another color. On your left, see how humble the building is. It's a Portuguese church. And see the facade of it. the humility, the simplicity, place to go worship is all behind. In front, there is a facade that says, come, you are Christian now. And that's what happened during Portuguese period. Christianity has always looked for taller spaces compared to the spaces that are seen in Hinduism and Islam. However, in Hinduism, the outside is a signal. The shikhar is an icon. In this particular case, we can discuss this particular shikhar of Marugujar style for at least half an hour. I don't want to do that, but all the icons that are there on this shikhar have evolved over a time, and during Marugujar period, they became part of the temple. A very dear friend of mine, my guru actually, Professor K.K. Mahmood is here, and he's an archaeologist, and he's done a fantastic amount of work. And the way he understands the architecture of antiquities is something that we need to learn. Well, from that shikhar to this shikhar, what happened? Suddenly, the icon is lost. You can't see the temple from outside anyway. So, this genre of architecture didn't want to be seen? No. It wanted to be seen, but it wanted you to come in. It wanted you to spend time. And it wanted to be in the presence of itself to understand it. And my conjecture, even in the book that I have written, is that the radial rafters is a method of taking your message, taking your energy, and releasing it into the sky. Philosophically speaking, that's what I see. Agraharam houses. Agrahar houses are the only houses which have this window. So when you see this window and when you carefully look at the street below, Agrahar window is the icon of Agrahar type of housing or settlement. Like Kerala courtyard, there is no other courtyard. Therefore, Kerala courtyard is iconic in nature. At the same time, Ahmedabad courtyard has its own personality, and it talks about it being an icon because of other reasons. This you know, and the lesson from this is that icons of gods and goddesses are defined and thereby recognized by their own form, color, vehicle, instrument, flower, food, prayers, functions, and stories. This is where Hindu iconography Okay. So, few other icons that are actually coming from real building to other building, the Tajia or Mahuram. Then architects use certain elements to make their building iconic. Two buildings, one 1250 and the other 1870. Come independence, and they wanted to forge buildings, and therefore they had to become iconic. And see what reference they have taken. Ajanta. When you see this whole picture, this picture is like saying, anybody who is shown this picture will say, this is Gujarat. Or we'll ask a question, where is all this? And you will say, this is this is that, this is that, and that's Gujarat. We will not go into the iconography. However, wood and stone are two different materials in which iconography happens in different ways. On your left is stone, on your right is wood. I will not touch upon certain issues because it takes time. But plinth of a northern temple, a good northern temple, is layered after certain living beings, and it has its own sequence. This comes way up to Belur. Two gargoyles, 1,000 miles apart. How did this happen is a good question to ask. Metal, wood, and stone. Doors are for sale. Mutton cherry. These doors are being brought out from their own this thing and being sold. Two Sheshashai Vishnus, one in Kerala, one in Gujarat. Padmanabh. How Islam and Gujarat produced a wonderful genre of architecture, and how Jain as well as Hindu icons became part of the mosques of Gujarat. On your left, a dissembled temple. On your right, new temple is being created. So how does iconography continue? A rath or a chariot to me is like a school, is like hidden knowledge. When you make a rath, the number of carpenters who work on it learn so much about carpentry. And again, there is something to be explained in that, but I'll go through. Disappearing icons. And who else can I tell that now I can't hear that sound? It's gone. And who else can I say? Right side, upper image, those white finger marks, what do they represent? Stories on the temple wall. Iconography in the upper neck of the Kerala temple. Then there is the grotesque. This is the point I wanted to come to. Grotesque is there in architectural iconography. This is Bhutan. Look at the Garuda of Bhutan. And look at the iconography that is alluding to grotesque. And now we see Vyali. Vyali in south, Vyala in north. What a beautiful element it has given to the architecture and how it got abstracted. Then I started looking for it. There is a special column called Vyali column, Yali column. And here we are again, how the motif is used. Come to Gujarat and look at the same Yali. It has transformed completely. And the last one. Okay. In the Kutambalams of Kerala, grotesque figures are there, a number of them. Most of them also alluding to Yali. Where did they come from? Why did they come from? What are they doing? And then we make our own icons. Of our own time. Thank you. Thank you. Sorry I've taken a lot of time.
Miki, that was a very powerful pampa and presentation on icons and iconography. You touched upon iconography and icons in religion, popular culture, architecture, and various other fields. We all being architects, three of us sitting here are architects. One thing which I would like to ask you is about spatial iconography. You talked about courtyards becoming icons and iconic spaces. So how does it, in Kerala, we have a lot of courtyard houses and very old houses, wherein this courtyard is a very powerful thing. How does it become iconic in the sense, is it during the design stage, when it's used, or the functional part of it? How does that space really become an iconic space?
Courtyard doesn't exist by itself. Courtyard has the inner periphery. And lots of buildings in Kerala have an outer periphery also. Lots of manas have that. Now, the courtyard by itself is a hollow space, but it is the periphery behind, around, that makes it an iconic place, because men, women, children all use it in their own way, and the courtyard becomes useful for various things.
Sir, understanding from the presentation and the way we traveled, it shows very clearly that in India we have enough and more icons, and it's very sound and powerful. And today, why we are struggling to build new icons? Maybe to compete with other countries, maybe the statue itself may be an example. What is your viewpoint on that?
He's hitting it on the nails. I think one of those negative connotations of icon, and that's why I said all of us are icons here. I have no doubt. I'm not trying to please them. We have that in us. It comes up in different ways with different people. And that idea of icon, when taken with a lot of egotism and a lot of egoism, it becomes taller, it becomes bigger, it becomes fatter, and one icon gives birth to another icon. Right now there are 4 schemes of making taller icon than the one that is built in Gujarat. So where are we going to end up with this? So the whole idea of icon is in its silence, if you can. And I have no other ways of explaining, Brijesh, but taken far and cooked with oblique reasoning, icon can be, and we saw in what Hitler did. Again, I'm not alluding to anything else, but you exploit a situation, and people who are looking for icons, they don't feel themselves as icons, are gullible in this.
There's one more question. It's pertaining to popular culture. We have icons in popular culture movies, like from Rajinikanth to like O.J. Simpson to Michael Jackson. So these popular culture icons have set a standards of what people have been looking up to them for being iconic. In certain people, like for example, O.J. Simpson, who was a great rugby player America has ever seen, and he did double murders and he was acquitted. So does these iconic images really help them in getting out and have a negative connotation somewhere?
Yes, and especially the American icon making is associated with so many other things. In order to survive as an icon, you must do A, B, C, D things. And your iconic stature kind of becomes higher and higher as you do that. I wouldn't want to critique it negatively because all pop singers, including jazz musicians, have built their career based on this whole idea of icon. But with it goes something dangerous.
Maybe we can take some calls, questions from the floor, please.
Just I came in late, a bit sorry. I just heard you were talking about gargoyles, which is connected to the Vyala or Vyali. And you said it came from somewhere else. And I would like to know whether it was connected to the Gothic architecture gargoyle, which gradually came to India. But when I introspected some of the Hampi architecture, I found some of the Art Deco elements, but from the 14th century. Maybe we can see it as a revival. So what do you think the gargoyle came from other countries? I mean, did the architecture...
if I have conveyed that gargoyle came from somewhere else, I'm sorry for creating a misconception. Gargoyle is very much an Indian, pan-Indian, temple architecture's undividedly close together element. When I said I showed two gargoyles. What I wanted to talk about was that these two gargoyles come from 1,000 miles apart. Yeah. Now, when they're 1,000 miles apart, my question is, if you look at the semblance of them, my question is, how did this happen? You know, 1,000 miles apart, there is and belonging to two different periods. Somebody is carving a gargoyle here and somebody is carving. How did this happen, sir? That's the kind of question, and this is where, sir, I feel that the whole idea of art, temple art, and architecture need to be explained very well to our students, to our friends, to our families, because a lot has happened. And I'm sure you're getting the... and Kerala gargoyle, there are at least 15 to 20 types of Kerala gargoyles. Yeah? And if you notice, all of them have a little cupid holding the gargoyle from below. Because it comes out and stands. Now, there's iconography of that cupid also. Now, this is what is fascinating. This is what brings some joy in me. I'm not a religious person. I'm a visual person. And can visual be my religion? That's what I'm looking at. No.
Sometimes in Europe, if you look at the old churches from any era, when there's iconography inside the church walls as murals, so people generally refer to that as iconography. And then, do you think this also is a part of iconography? This reliefs and sculptures and all that. Can we call this or classify
yes, very
it as
much so.
Yeah.
Very much.
Thank you.
These are Yavina Varadanda Mandira. That slok is very well explaining that each of these statues are defined in terms of what it is, how it is, what it has, how it is standing, how it is sitting. So, in that sense, it has been a defined science of recognizing iconography and icon.
Okay.
I'm not trying to, again, it's a debate, that's what I'm saying. The Christian iconography is water thin
Yeah.
compared to the iconography of the Hindus.
Yeah.
I'm not taking
You're absolutely
pride in
right.
that.
Yeah.
I'm not taking pride in that. But the fact that these cultures have done it in a certain way, and that's all I'm trying to bring forth.
Thank you, sir.
The mandala is supposed to be a very important icon of Tantricism, which is another sect or another cult of Hinduism. Would you like to sort of elaborate on that?
That's why the fourth Veda is kind of now discarded. Because the idea of cult, Tantrism was embedded in that particular Veda. However, the mandalas being an instrument for one, concentration, two, for conveying a meaning, and three, for building purposes, is clearly there in our culture. And if you actually read the shlokas that are defining the Kerala types, house types, and Kerala joinery, you will see that they are all explained with something else. And this is where symbolism or iconism comes in. It is through something else that you are explaining something else. And therefore, this idea of mandala is very vital to the traditional architecture of especially Kerala, Tamil Nadu, and southern states in general. It becomes more and more descriptive as it goes north. So yes, I see mandala as a very important iconic meaning, which is coded for others to decode as time goes.
Anyone would like to ask more questions? Sir, there is in Kerala architecture, when we consider, there was to a large extent, there was an organic growth. It was happening, small changes. And recently, when you look at it, there is a disconnect from what we were working before and what is happening today. And what will be your direction to the future architecture of Kerala? Which direction it need to be taken in terms of the creating new icons and all?
That's a huge question, and I don't think I would pretend I know the answer. However, and I have thought about this. In the book, I have mentioned about Agrahara. What happens to Agrahara, a whole patch, say Kalpati, and it gets sold? How will people build in it? One side there is no road, one side there is a road. And it's a long plot. So here is a question back to you. Second is, there was one great scientist called Dr. Pisharoti. in Ahmedabad, if you remember him. And he had calculated the force and the weight that one drop of rain exerts on a surface. One, horizontal surface. Second, inclined surface. And he had calculated the forces for concrete. He has already done the job. Most of your concrete slabs and roofs are leaking in 3 years, 3 or 4 years, and they are damn hot. So this is where the answer is lying, and this is a seductive material, you know. Concrete is a very seductive material. I can get it done fast. I don't have to repair it. These are all notions. Well, if you build small and if you build properly, even a wooden roof is a great roof. So answer lies in the air. You know, the good old guy who said, my friend, answer lies in the... So he would say the same thing, Bob Dylan. And I don't think we are going to get answer very soon. We are going to get answers by failure. And if at all there is a region in this country where wood should be made available in a justified manner as far as cost is concerned, it is this region. It is Assam. It is Meghalaya. And see, as soon as I said Meghalaya and Assam, I'm talking about bamboo. I'm not talking about timber. So we have a huge... How will these sensibilities come? I don't know. But for one, I am for those sensibilities.
Just one last question, like the pace at which architecture is moving on and we are aping the Western culture and stuff like that, and with a lot of vernacular sensibilities around, is it just a matter of time that we lose out on all these iconic structures soon? The past heritage.
Even to think of it pains me. And one great scholar has already predicted this. And where we are going, how we are going to salvage, how we are going to work with these important buildings is a good question to ask. And the more we involve people, the more we sit down and talk about it, the more solutions would be there. One solution I always feel is, gone are the days of manas. Ek shal, dvishal. Finished. Make it well and you'll be able to enjoy the life. Life outside and life inside needs to be enjoyed equally. That's why the courtyard is there. So we need to explain, we need to talk to people. As architects, we are all sitting in ivory towers. And it is our desire to build permanent buildings, iconic buildings. So the debate lies somewhere there. And vernacular also must move. That's where the answer is.
I think we will conclude the session. It was quite interesting to know about iconography and icons and the future of architecture and what's been present, our heritage, whether it will remain. All these things, to an extent, remains debatable. Very big thanks to Mr. Vicky for being here and presenting this. Brijesh for curating it, and I would like to thank Kerala for giving us this chance to speak on iconography.